Today on Cherry Picking, I blew up my radiator, and we're going to try to fix it. Let's get into it. That's right, my radiator, well, it bit the dust. It definitely doesn't really radiate very well anymore because I went on a trip this weekend down to Huntington Beach as well as Hollywood. Went to a Cars and Coffee event at a company that my wife and I like called Cherry LA. Not a sponsor, just a cool clothing company that shares my last name, so they had a Cars and Coffee event. I'd wanted to take this thing down. Also went down to the Long Beach Antique Swap Meet. Come to find out that the radiator that I had patched multiple times just couldn't hack it anymore. And, well, let me show you. If you come into my office over here, you'll kind of notice, well, that's the patch that I did with JB Weld steel stick, because that was what I read could potentially hold this thing together, because I had a crack underneath this thing, and as you can tell, the steel stick also, okay, we'll focus, nope. The steel stick didn't fully hold either. This ring around it is from where it was still spraying, and as you can see, my entire under hood engine bay area is just covered in this really nasty brown beige stuff. It's all over my grill that we just put in, and I'm now going to have to clean up again because now it's all hazy. But this radiator has just bit the dust. It cracked on the top tank right here, pretty far across. It had cracked before underneath the neck, which actually I can take this off. It had cracked on the neck a few times actually, and I had patched it. My dad and I patched it, well, he patched it really, but finally cracked over here, and this is kind of a really big issue. And well, honestly, I don't think this radiator has much longer. It's clearly got issues, and I can keep patching it. I can get it recored, but we're going to see if we can temporarily fix this fast using this guy over here. We're going to see if this works. Oh gosh, of course it. This is a 1970 Mustang radiator, same one used in the AC cars in Cleveland, similar to a big block, almost exactly the same actually. So we're going to try to use it. Only difference is it has a center mount radiator cap, whereas this one is, as you can see, offset, but everything else about it is the same. It has the same spacing for the transmission cooler lines. And, well, this one's actually, even though it doesn't look like it, it should be NOS. It's just been sitting outside for however many years, and so it's beat up. But we're going to try to use this, see if it'll work, and I'm actually just seeing some fins are broken off it or something. Well, I was told it was NOS. We'll see if it actually is. But I got to clean this out. We'll see if that works in here. But first things first is we got to drain the radiator, so let's get to doing that. Also, when I opened my hood this morning, I discovered a friend. Got a nice, pretty big katydid, actually. It's a pretty big guy. Hey, buddy. Well, we'll let him be. He actually was right here when I opened the hood this morning, but he's slowly made his way away. I think I'm scaring him off. But let's drain the radiator. Okay, we've got a radiator drain pan here that hopefully will work well for this purpose. And I've got two theories as to why this thing finally, well, kicked the bucket. One, it's an old radiator, and I was having issues with it before. It was cracking, but I hadn't really thought about it until yesterday. The coolant in this thing wasn't really looking like coolant, and I remembered when I got this thing running, I actually didn't put distilled water in it. Oh, that's going to go everywhere. I think I'm catching it. Oh yeah, perfect. Perfect placement. Anyways, I had realized that it didn't really look like coolant anymore, and I remembered that I didn't use distilled water when I first put this thing together. I just used a bunch of hose water, which, to be honest, has been fine in vehicles like my truck. However, I think for the past 2 years, that coolant that I did put in it, the small amount that I did, I guess, I don't even know if it was that much, probably had expired, because coolant does have a shelf life, and it will turn it acidic, and it will stop cooling your motor. So I think that there's a chance I think that there's a chance that I didn't have enough coolant in there, and the coolant that was in there was expired, and so the water was just boiling more than it should have been if it had fresh, good coolant in it, as well as not being distilled water. It had minerals and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because when I first got this thing running, it ran cool. I actually couldn't get this thing hot. It was hard to get it to warm up because it ran so cool. And ever since I took it on a trip to Arizona back in May, where I drove about 800 miles in 100+ degree heat, well, it didn't love that, and I'd been patching it since. So we're gonna get this radiator drained. Yeah, I did put a little bit of coolant in there yesterday. Basically what happened was I got stuck about 50 miles from home with a blown radiator, overheated. So kind of what I had to do was limp it to the nearest AutoZone. I got this steel stick, sanded the area, just shoved it on enough that it could, you know, sit there. Didn't let it cure at all like you're supposed to. Immediately started driving, but I put a little bit of fresh coolant in it, and that seemed to help quite a bit and actually kind of magically repaired itself, where before I was driving and it would overheat going faster than anything over 65. It could idle fine and it would cool itself down. But going over 65, about 2,700 RPM, give or take, maybe less, maybe more, I don't actually know. Probably could be 2,500. It would start to flicker on the hot light, and as long as I let off, that hot light would go away, and I could kind of keep it there. But then it just got a little bit worse and worse as time went on. Once I put fresh coolant in it, I was able to drive it 85, no problem, in 95 degree heat on the way home, and it didn't want to overheat at all. So that's kind of why my theory about the coolant being expired is what it is, because, well, I think it was expired. I think it just wasn't doing its job. So we're gonna fix it. This thing's almost drained. Now, while I let that thing drain, I'm gonna go ahead and spray off this 70 Mustang radiator. Now, I was told it was NOS. Clearly it doesn't look like it, but we're gonna spray it off. That should be good enough for who it's for and what they're paying. So we'll bring this guy back. Okay, and we need to get off the radiator hoses, and what else do we need to take off? This guy needs to come off. Top clamp, as well as the shroud. That's the first thing we're going to take off, actually. Fan out, which so means our fan shroud can come out, which you can see some of the solder. Oh, I don't know if we can. Some of the solder that was on there trying to fix this before. Easy. Top bracket comes off. Now all we have left are the transmission cooler lines, which will be fun to do and fun to cap. It's kind of dark. Anyways, I'm going to get these lines off and then we'll take this radiator out. Alright, I had to soak the transmission cooler lines in some PB Blaster, and now you can't even really see me, and then use some heat to kind of work the nuts, you know, because they were pretty much stuck on there. But we are free, so now this thing should just pop right on out. There we go. That is, well, I believe that's the original radiator. Now, let's compare it. Alright, well, if we compare these two radiators, this is the one that came out of the car, and that's what it looks like. This is the one, my stand is in the way. And this is the 70 Mustang Cleveland radiator. As you can tell, the hose parts are in the right spot. They're pretty much identical. The difference is in the top tank section. It's definitely slightly different. And if we take our measuring tape, measure across this one, we're looking at just over 24 inches, but this is a 24-inch radiator. And if we look at this one's actually a little bit more over than 24 inches. It's actually 24 3/4, if you look at that in there. Which, this is still a 24-inch radiator is how it's classified, but it does have it seems to have at least one more core strand in it. Now if we measure the height, that's where these do slightly differ. If we measure from the bottom of the top of the tank, or the top, sorry, if we measure at the bottom from the top of the bottom tank and go up, we're looking at about 17 1/4 to the bottom of the top tank. And on this one, we're looking at 16 almost, there you are, 16 almost exactly. The top tank is physically taller. However, if we measure the overall measures, this one's just over 22, like, looks like 22 1/4. And this one measures at 21 inches. It's hard to tell, but 21 inches. So this one is just about an inch, just over an inch shorter than the one that came out of it, which is not a huge deal. However, it means that the fan shroud is going to be a problem. So let's set it in, make sure the hoses line up, and make sure that that's not going to be an issue. And then we'll take a peek at the fan shroud. Because honestly, if the fan shroud can work on this, and the fan doesn't hit anything and it clears, which it should, then we can fab up a bracket really easily, since it'll only sit just slightly shorter than the original one. And the biggest thing we have to figure out is the center bracket that holds this one versus that one. We may have to modify a bracket or make our own, but luckily it's a super simple bracket. And honestly, I could probably even just cut a hole in this one to fit the radiator through. We'll see. But let's set it inside the car. All right, now we are working in the harsh sunlight, so sorry if it's hard to see one way or another. I'm actually going to take off this overflow hose, which is probably an original one. So drop this guy in. All right. First issue we're running into is it is physically wider, and that physical width is an issue for the actual radiator support. Okay, well, I got the 70 Mustang radiator kind of fitted in, but I had to take it back out. It doesn't fit as well as I'd hoped it to, so well, let's take a look again at the old radiator and see what's wrong with it, because I have a feeling this Mustang radiator is not really going to work. So yeah, let's take a peek. So this is the old radiator, and I went ahead and cleaned up the area that I basically covered in the JB weld, and then heated up and scraped off what was left of the solder. As you can see right there, there's a big old crack running along. I'd say from end to end where it really starts, it's probably about 2 1/4 inches. That's the crack all the way across. And we did have a crack on the neck that has been continually repaired, but hasn't sealed fully. And as you can see, a lot of the copper's showing through on the fins, and it's definitely pretty rough. And I'd say this is a good candidate for an entire refresh and send it to a shop who actually knows how to fix these. But I'm going to see if I can just get this thing to hold better and try to get some more solder in it and braze that up, because honestly, I don't think that radiator is going to work. It just does not fit right. For one, it does not fit well with the actual radiator posts. Turns out this has a narrower bottom tank section than that one does. That one actually bulges out much sooner, and so it actually runs right into the mounts that are down there on the core support. So, like I said, I'm going to see if I can try to fix this one real quick. Alright, well, I will admit that I have a very basic understanding of soldering on something like this, but learned a little bit by watching my dad, and well, if I can't do it, then it is what it is. Not a big deal, but I don't think it hurts trying. So, I've got the area sanded down just lightly, and the brass is showing through. It was tinned, but I'm going to go ahead and just start from scratch. You can really see, I actually think that crack is more like 3.5 inches when you really look at it. Let me see if I can show it to you. You might be able to get a better look. Yeah, you can see the line in there. It's pretty long. So we're gonna try to get this soldered. So yeah, I think I'm ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and get our torch here. Start by just getting it a little warm. I've got some flux here. It is kind of nasty, but just brush this on. This will help the solder to stick better. Now for the fun part. Getting filled, and I'm trying to be careful with filling it because it's also filling in. This is hard. Every minute, every second I feel like I got it, it fills in the crack, and I'm probably filling in the radiator. All right, well, last thing you saw was me trying to fix a radiator that was not really fixing, but it just so happened that a 66 Galaxy was dropped off at the Monrovia Pick Your Part, which is really far for me, but if it had a chance to have a radiator plus some other parts, had to take it, so we're here. And, well, this is the car. Kind of got excited and forgot to record earlier, but we already started on it. And it just so happened somebody already unbolted the radiator for us. How convenient. Plus, they left the hubcaps, which they're kind of roughed, but there's also a shroud and then a bunch of other parts. So we're gonna start taking parts off this guy and see what we can get. Now, to be completely honest, I don't know why anyone would junk this car. When it got dropped off, everything was still here. It had literally everything on it. Unfortunately, someone did already take the hood, which it had a hood spear on it, which is worth some money, but I actually have a guy that I need to get one for. But this car was very complete when it came in here. It even had the original license plates. We think that maybe it was some older person's and then they passed away and their family didn't want it, so they junked it, which is kind of unfortunate because it really was a pretty nice car and it was complete. Even had keys still in the trunk when you could see it in the pictures. So it's kind of sad because this probably would have been a great runner. It's a 352 car, so nothing crazy. Let's see right there. But, you know, it is what it is. It's already here. Nobody's buying it outright. So we're going to take the parts we can get off of it and hopefully save some things. All right, we got all the parts. We took quite a bit. I got the hubcaps, which is nice, and I got the radiator and some hood hinges, which I actually need because my car's hood hinges are failing, as well as the cowl seal, which isn't perfect, but the rubber's still soft. This was a really nice car. It's unfortunate that it was scrapped, but well, it happens sometimes, so we do what we can. And well, we're gonna make it back home, and I've actually got to pressure test this thing, which may not happen right this moment, but well, that gets us one step further. So, decided to stop at another yard because they happen to have this 66 LTD that is really beat to crap. Another two-door hardtop car. It's got a radiator, looks nicer than the one on the other car, plus some other parts, so we're gonna nab it up. I did just get stuff all over my face, so that's cool. But 59 T-Bird next to it too is pretty cool. Or 60, one of the 58 to 59, we'll see. Anyways, all right, we are back home. It is super windy right now, so I apologize for the sound quality. It's probably gonna be horrible, but we've got our two radiators One of them kind of a little bit more smashed up than the other, but this one, if you take a look, is completely full of sludge. I don't know if you can see that. Full of nasty sludge. And I'm gonna have to clean that thing out thoroughly before I can put it in this car. But I'm out of time for today. The video is supposed to be up. I'm doing a bunch of other stuff this weekend, and so you're gonna have to see that radiator get cleaned up and installed next time. So I apologize, but this was kind of a fail, really, is all it was. So, you know, sometimes you fail. You don't get things done in time. It is what it is. You can do nothing but just keep moving forward. So, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time, and well, I guess we'll have to fix it next time, and you'll see that next time on Cherry Picking. So, see ya.